Common theme that seems to come up with almost every breakup is people tend to be more in love with the idea or the fantasy of their ex than the actual person themselves. So what can happen is we look back on the past with rose-tinted goggles, or what is also known as the fading effect bias, where we favour the happier memories over the less happy memories, the memories that made us feel sad and the memories that maybe created some trauma. So today in episode 2 of the Breakup Bootcamp, I'm going to discuss how to break up with the fantasy of your ex and to see them for what they really are and whom they really are, and just to get a better idea on the reality of the situation, which hopefully will help you move past this point in time that you're stuck in. But before we get any further with that, how's it going, guys? It's Nick, as always, doing my best to get you through your breakups as healthily and as easily as possible, with compassion but no bullshit. If today's video and today's episode is not enough for you, you can join my free Facebook group. I've mentioned it a few times now. If you go to Facebook and type in the Love Fix Breakup Recovery, you can join the growing community there where everybody's helping each other out. And if that's not enough for you, which I really hope it is, you can reach out to me for a one-to-one coaching session where we can talk about your personal breakup situation. Just drop me an email at thelovefix20@gmail.com. As always, all of those details are below in the description. Right, let's get into episode 2, the fantasy of your ex. Let's break up with the fantasy. So when your ex broke up with you, your mind or your subconscious instantly put them on a very high pedestal. And what that is basically your subconscious telling you they broke up with you. That means you must be less than they are. They are higher than you because they no longer see your value, which automatically demotes you from the partner to probably something less than a friend. And our reaction to that is one of a dog and its master. And that's the dog looking up at the master and wagging its tail, waiting for affection, waiting for validation, and the doggy saying, or in doggy language, "Did I do good?" And waiting for master to reaffirm that. Now, I'm not trying to call you a dog or anything, it's just an analogy, but that's essentially what's happening. So this hero worship, this fantasy worship begins with our exes, where we put them so far up on a pedestal that we believe that we are less than they are, that we cannot do any better, and we will never find anyone quite like that. But what can happen, we can actually form a relationship with the fantasy, with the idea of that person. And that can very quickly replace your old relationship with your ex. And I've mentioned before, I did a video a while ago, breaking up with your breakup. And so this is following a similar theme as, okay, we need to break up with the fantasy, the idea of our exes, or the idea of anyone really, because a lot of the time we fall in love with the idea of that person that we've created in our heads. Now, I know, you know, that human beings are flawed, they are fickle, they are unpredictable. What they say today may not be relevant tomorrow. And I've mentioned this before, where what someone says to you today, "Hey, I love you more than anything, I want to be with you the rest of my life," may not be true tomorrow. They may wake up and just decide, okay, this isn't working, I feel different. But this can leave an unhealthy attachment and unhealthy fantasy that keeps us where we are for far too long. Sometimes I've actually spoken to people that have been stuck in this phase for 2, 3, 4, even 5 years, where they still can't believe that their ex left them. They were married, they had kids, and they left. So we develop a fantasy. We start only remembering the good things about them. The times they made you laugh uncontrollably. That time you went on vacation or holiday, or you climbed that mountain, or you went to that really nice restaurant. And your brain, your mind holds on to that. And this essentially is a fading effect bias. We only remember the good thing. And I've made an analogy before, as with when you potentially fall off a bike when you're a kid and you break your arm, or you hurt yourself, or you cut yourself. After a week or two, or after you've healed, you very quickly forget what that pain felt like, and you get back on the bike because you love riding the bike. You only remember the good feelings of riding a bike. You know that you fell off the bike and you know it sucked and it was unpleasant, but the good feelings of riding that bike override the bad feelings. And that's the same thing with your ex. Now, most people that I talk to when I do the one-to-one coaching sessions and I start digging a little bit deeper, most conversations start off very similar. We had a great relationship, everything was fantastic, we never really argued, and so on and so on. And when I start digging a little bit deeper and I start asking questions about the ex, like, okay, tell me a time where you guys fell out, or tell me a time where they said something nasty to you, or they gaslighted you, a lot of other things come out. Because what we're doing, we're peeling back the fantasy, we're peeling back the sugar-coated layer, the icing, the cherry on top, and we're getting down into the roots of it, and where a lot of the time it's rotten, it's corrupted, it's on shaky ground. So one thing I like to get people to do, and I read about this in the Dating Guy's book, Breaking Down Breakups. There's one part of the book where it says make 2 lists. List number 1 is your ex, and write down every bad thing about them and really let them have it. All their bad habits, everything they did to you that was wrong, everything they said that was nasty, every time they gaslighted you or whatever, and really let them have it on this list. And list number 2, write down your ideal partner, your ideal relationship, and then compare the 2 lists. And what you should be left with after that is that why the hell would you want list number 1? Why would you want that person, your ex, on list number 1? Because list number 2, your ideal partnership, your ideal relationship, whatever, is so much better. So this is why you need to try and let go of the fantasy. We all do it. We've all done it. I do it. You know, even now, after 2 and a bit years, I still remember a lot of the good things. And that overrides what happened towards the end of the relationship. So sometimes I have to remind myself why that relationship failed. I have to remind myself my part in that, and I have to remind myself the part of my ex in that. And I have to remind myself that we both messed up in different ways for different reasons. And I have to remind myself that maybe in some way we just wasn't compatible. We was compatible in a lot of other ways, but maybe this was a fundamental incompatibility and we could not reconcile. We could not reconcile our differences. So when the fantasy does creep in, guys, and you're having a bad day, and all you can do is think about your ex, and you're on the verge of text messaging them or phoning them up, I just want you to take a step back. Appreciate how you feel those feelings, tell yourself it's okay. But I'm going to give you some tangible tips right now to get away from that feeling, to get away from the fantasy. The first thing I want you to do is to write that text message. But don't do it on WhatsApp or whatever text messaging service that you use. Do it on your notepad on your phone. Write down everything that you would like to say to them right in that particular point. Everything that is on your mind that you would like to say to them. And once you've written that, read it back to yourself and read it again and again and again and again until it becomes silly, until you can step back and see, okay, maybe that's not the most appropriate thing to say, and this is going to just make me look weak, and it's going to diminish me. And if that's not working, reach out to a friend, send that message to a friend, because then you've gone through the acts of writing the message and sending it, actually sending it out. It's not gone to your ex, it's gone to a safe person. And you can just say to that person, your friend, your family member, whoever, hey, look, I don't feel great right now. I just wrote this, I wanted to send it to my ex, I'm just sending it to you so I do not send it to them. And maybe you don't even want advice. Just say, hey, look, I don't need your advice right now, I just need you to listen. Or maybe you do need advice and say, look, tell me what you think. And once that's done, I want you to get productive. I want you to get uncomfortable, because fantasies are comfortable and they can lead us down some bad paths. And I'm not saying fantasies are wrong. We all like to have a fantasy, but at this particular point, a fantasy with your ex is not going to serve you well. So whenever I go through things like this is what I do. And maybe you can apply some of these. I'm not saying this is going to work for you, but maybe you can take some tips here. For me, I will get my ass in the gym and I will go and train hard until my muscles will not work anymore. I will do an extra set. I will push out the extra reps. I will put some more weight on the bar. I will run a little bit harder. And by the end of that, I'm typically not thinking of anything because I'm too tired. And when I come home, I clean my house. And once I've cleaned my house, I'll have a cold shower, freezing cold. Because, trust me, once you've had a cold shower, your anxiety is almost on zero, because you've been focusing on your breathing in the shower. A cold shower makes you breathe very deeply, and and it's like, okay, right, this sucks, but you get out and you feel great. And you're just not thinking about them that much anymore. And if that's not enough, meditation. And if that's not enough, journal about it. And if that's not enough, call a friend. And if that's still not enough, go and do something. At the point where processing and accepting and sitting with your feelings is not working, you need to go and do stuff. Because most times when these thoughts and feelings come up, it's when you're not busy. It's when you're in on a Friday night by yourself. Maybe you don't have the money to go out. Maybe all of your friends are busy. Or maybe you're just too tired from a hard week at work and you're alone with your thoughts. And I get it. But that's when we are at our most vulnerable. But that's when we have to work the hardest. That's when we have to step back and observe the fantasy with curiosity. And look at it with curiosity, analyze it, and step back. And that might just be the difference between you having a good day and a bad day. That might be the difference between you reaching out and not reaching out. That might be the difference between you taking a step forward or taking a step back. Either way, it's a lot of hard work and it sucks, and I hear you, and yeah, it hurts. I get it. But you will be okay. Every anxiety spiral or attack you've ever had in your life, you've survived. You're still here, you're breathing, you're listening to this. And if you're listening to this, I guess that you've got some kind of digital device, which means you've been able to afford that, which means I would dare say that your bills are paid, the lights are on, there's food in your belly. Things might be tough right now, but you're doing okay, you're getting by, you're surviving. It's all about baby steps. And one of those baby steps today can be let's just step back from the fantasy and just paint a real picture of your ex, of that human being, that imperfect human being who was created by other imperfect human beings, living on an imperfect planet, around an imperfect sun, in an imperfect galaxy, in an imperfect universe. So just contemplate that for a second. And always remember, you are enough. you was able to attract that person at one time, that means you are capable of attracting other people. And there's 8 billion people out there. You're going to do just fine. But fix you, work on you, give yourself the love and validation that you need unconditionally, and leave the fantasy at the door. As always, I'll see you on the other side.